What's up, internet? Welcome back to the Octopath Traveler character overview, and today we finally get to look at Tressa. That's right, the best girl has finally made her debut on the channel, and she works very nicely. For those of you guys that haven't already seen my stat spread video, where I looked at the decagons that showed where exactly the stats go for each character, Tressa kind of benefits from a jack-of-all-trades utility kind of archetype. The reason why I say this is because she doesn't necessarily have super high stats in any one area, but she has no terrible stats either, so she does fit somewhere in the middle, and she does lend herself to some nice utility with her base merchant class and the secret Runelord class, which is exactly what we're going to be focusing on today. For those of you guys that are unfamiliar, the Runelord lets you essentially apply runes to your physical attacks, so whenever you do a physical attack, there's going to be a follow-up with an elemental attack, which scales with your elemental attack stat. This is very useful if you want to quickly burn through each of the enemy weaknesses, since it's just that extra hit. Extra hits can be a little bit difficult to get if you're not innately a spellcaster, but Tressa helps us kind of patch that up. So looking over at the equipment that is going to be available, so the thing about Tressa is that she's more than anything the glue that holds the team together. She might not necessarily be the focal point, but she certainly does have some shining moments and some nice utility that does help you survive all the way to the very end. This is particularly true with the equipment you'll be giving her. For the most part, you do want to balance things out between physical attack and elemental attack, since she benefits equally from both of these, and she does have the same base stat for both of the damage types. So looking over at what we have some defense, evasion, and I've given her the captain's badge and the badge of friendship. Feel free to give her something else, such as like more SP if that's what you were looking for, or something more along the lines of more damage if that's what you're more concerned with. For the most part though, this is pretty open. Remember, you want her to be the person that glues your team together. She doesn't necessarily have to be the focus. Next up is going to be Hannet and Therian. These two characters are going to be very important for the Runelord playstyle. For those of you guys that are unaware with the Runelords, you can use the transfer rune on Tressa, and then after that turn, you can use another rune to apply any effect that you want to your entire party. This is very useful because Tressa is a base merchant class, so you can have sidestep to be invincible to physical attacks, or you can use the rest ability to heal everyone's SP and HP for free. So the thing about Hannet is that she has relatively low elemental attack, but you can easily patch it up with the weapons that you have. What you see here, the ones I really want to show off to you guys, are the Herald Sword and the Primeval Bow of Storms. The location of these ones, unfortunately, you do have to beat Chapter 4 to get these weapons, but a Herald Sword, you go to Riverford, pickpocket someone that is inside of the Wellspring area in the desert, then bring it back to Reggie in Riverford and you'll get this sword. The thing is, whenever you have a rune applied to your character and they have the increased fire damage dealt effects or any other elemental increase, you are going to enjoy those effects and to become much stronger. Ideally, you could stack multiple effects onto one character. However, because the way that transfer rune works, you're going to be seeing everyone enjoying that same effect, so you may as well just kind of balance it out, make sure that everyone has an even spread. And the next one is going to be the Primeval Bow of Storm. After you finish Hannet's Chapter 4, you can go over to Victor's Hollow and talk to an NPC named Alaic. You talk to Alaic and then take him over with a Allure or with Ophelia's Guide ability, take him over to the Force of No Return, and then you can fight against a boss, and you'll get the Primeval Bow of Storms, which increases wind damage. So the same thing can be said for Therian too. I've given him the Tradewind Spear and the Heathcote's Dagger. Obviously the Heathcote Dagger you get from finishing Therian's Chapter 4 and then doing an additional side quest. And then the Tradewind Spear, this one you can get by going to the Diarist, who is in Grandport. Once you talk to that person, you'll have to go to 3 locations, which I'll put on the screen right now. Go to these 3 locations with the purchase or steal, take these items, and then you will find yourself with the Tradewind Spear, which basically increases the same effect of wind and fire. And that's pretty much what you want to do though. Lastly, we do have Ophelia. Ophelia, I'm actually going to go ahead and make her into a Scholar, just because Scholars do end up having a little bit more utility, hitting those weak points, and honestly, more elemental weak points that we break, the more damage our runes are going to do, and that's exactly what we have here. So, finally, we're going to look at the support skills. I've decided to give Tressa and Hannet and Therian the Surpassing Power. The reason why I want to do that is because Surpassing Powers is very useful to have overall, mainly just because Surpassing Power just means you can go over the cap, and we can hit some pretty high numbers with these. And again, we are going to be spreading it out, so let's just say if I had Heathcote's Dagger and Herald's Sword on one person, it would do twice as much, but I'd rather give that power to everyone so that we can just have more versatility to go around. around. One thing I also want to point out is that I do have the hard worker and extra experience. You can keep these ones for farming. More often than not, though, you want to have things like saving grace and the inner strength to give yourself some more SP to work with. I've given Ophelia Boost Art and BP Eater and Elemental Edge. She does have a Bishop Staff equipped, so if we ever did a light rune, then she's going to do some crazy amounts of damage, usually over the damage cap. And for characters like Tressa and Hana, it's just kind of focusing more on their damage, physical damage, because that's what they specialize in. And then if we want for elemental damage, that's where Tressa comes in. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to quickly cut the video, and I'll take you to 2 boss demonstrations that are in the final gauntlet in post-game, so I'll see you guys there. Okay, so here we are in wonderful post-game, and what I'm going to do actually is that because this is Tressa's video, we're going to go to the Tressa boss. This is the Mr. Tiger, Tony the Tiger. And this guy is actually really funny because Tressa as a Runelord is almost a direct counter to this. So the first thing you guys need to know about this particular boss is that he is weak to spear, bow, fire, and light. And as it happens, we have all of his abilities in spades. So here's what we're going to do. Start things off with 1,000 spears, kind of whittle him down as best we can. And then this next one is going to be Ophelia. I don't quite want to do the damage just yet, since we can spend a little bit more time, and she is guaranteed to break it because she's a a scholar, so she can hit twice. And we will have Tressa with a good old-fashioned transfer rune. So we're going to get things started here. Unfortunately, Tressa is going to be a little bit late in the next one, but that's absolutely fine by me. The next thing I want to do is just use a leg hold trap. So we're going to move this guy all the way over to the end of the line, and then Tressa will cast her rune, which everyone's going to benefit from. So like I said, this guy does have a weakness to fire, and that's something that we're definitely going to try to make use of. And thankfully, this is the beginning of the turn, so we could totally take advantage of this. Okay, so the thing about Therian is that he unfortunately will not be able to benefit just yet from the effects of the fire rune, which is just fine by me. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use one Runelord skill. I'm not going to do any boosts just yet, and start things off with a good old-fashioned fire rune. And I've noticed this, actually, is that it actually doesn't matter what weapon you're using when you're doing this. So, you know, what I could do is that I could use the Herald Sword right now, and the amount of damage I do actually won't be that much of a difference. I noticed this when I did the same thing with a spear, and it was still relatively the same amount of damage. And I believe there's also the effects of criticals, so that's something to consider as well, where if you want to kind of max out your damage as best as you can. Okay, so we have Ophelia here, and I guess the first thing that I could do is just go for a straight-up Firestorm, if that's what I want to do. So you get some nice 2 hits, and then Therian's gonna go in with his Heathcote's Dagger. Instead of doing that, what I can do is just Eber's Reckoning, since we have it already. It's gonna do some nice damage, hopefully in the 5 digits, yep, 10,000, and then Fire Pursuit for another 5 digits. And of course, this is the reason why people love Tressa as a Runelord so much. This is our last turn to have the transfer rune, so here we go. Full-on sidestep for the entire party for 4 turns. And this is hilarious because this guy only ever attacks with the 4 turns, so this is going to be good for us. Alright, an attack I want to do, I guess, with this one is... he is weak to bow, so I might as well use a bow right now. Here we go. Rain of Arrows, multiple hits. And then we're going to get one last hit just to follow things up. So this is really nice though, because as you can see, the Rain of Arrows does so many hits to work away at his weaknesses, and then the fire is just kind of going to seal the deal right after that. So let's see if we can try to do that one more time. Tressa's transfer rune has run out, so unfortunately we have no choice, but considering we all have sidesteps applied to us, it's not going to matter at all. So as luck would have it, we also have 1,000 spears. We're going to hit many times. Even if he's left with 1 or 2, we're still going to get that last hit with the Fire Pursuit. It's going to do less damage because his guard isn't broken, but that's absolutely fine by me. Here we go, Transfer Rune. And what I would consider doing, actually, is just defending and then waiting for the very next turn. So unfortunately, our rune is going to run out, but that's okay because Tressa is going to give us another one. So the best we can do right now is just make do with what we have. Okay, so I see that we have a warrior here, and something we could try doing is more attacks with the dagger, I think would be the best idea for us. So here we go, let's go for a Steel SP with a single boost, some nice damage, and a lot of SP that was recovered. And we will use a boosted Fire Rune to help us out here. Perfect. So we have plenty of dodges left available for us, and let's see, yeah, grand total of 3, plenty for us to work with, and I think what we can do is just go for another boost for the Firestorm. So we're doing pretty well. This is ideally the boss fight for Runelord Tressa, just because she kind of counters everything that this guy could possibly do to us. I think that for weapons we can go for... Do you know what? Let's go for a Guardian Lion Dog this time, since we are going to be using the Herald Sword. This fair amount, and of course it's going to follow up. Now, what I mentioned earlier is that ideally you would have a warrior class or war master class followed up with a rune. The reason why I say this is because when you have the rune, every enemy that you hit is going to get followed up with an elemental attack. This means that if you did something like Level Slash from the warriors or the Tiger's Rage from the war master, you're going to be seeing a nice return on that. Okay, so do you know what? We still have the transfer rune applied to us, so how about we just go ahead and do another sidestep, bring that up by another. So now we're at 4 guaranteed dodges for the entire team, and do you know what? I don't feel like using SP, so let's go ahead and just hit him with the staff for that follow-up. Unfortunately, Ophelia does not have the surpassing power, but that's going to be just fine. There we go, there's the sweep, which does not bother us at all. Usually this boss is pretty troublesome if you let him stretch out for a little bit longer, but thankfully with Tressa we can essentially effectively be taken out of this game. Alright, and go for another 1,000 spears, because that hits many times. Again, it could be a guaranteed break, regardless of whether or not all of them hit. And you know what, we'll have Tressa apply another transfer rune. Why not? We got plenty of momentum going on right now, and honestly we don't show any signs of slowing down. Yes, we're doing very well right now, and again, Ophelia has the damage. She has the highest elemental attack out of all the characters in the party right now, so she can just go for broke with single attacks. Alright, Therian, well, why not steal some more SP? This is probably his most damaging attack right now, even though he's a warrior, can do so much more. And just like that, we got ourselves a dead Venom-Tooth Tiger. It's a really easy quest, and again, it's kind of fitting that Tressa kind of counters this with a Runelord class, but yeah, it's one of those things. You get to have a very safe option. Obviously, there are people that could just easily beat these things in one hit, but honestly, what is the fun in that? So what we're going to do is we're going to skip ahead, and I'll show you guys one last one for today's demonstration. Okay, so Therian was such a good boy last time. What we're going to do is we're going to fight against the Therian Fiends boss. This particular boss, as I recall, is weak to Spear, Dagger, Axe, Ice, and Wind, which is good news for us because we have plenty of daggers to spare. He is going to seal away our items, but I do not mind that whatsoever because, again, we have Tressa on our team. We don't need items because we have Tressa. And also, as it turns out, we are quite lucky. We have ourselves plenty of physical attacks on this particular enemy, so this is good news for us. Alright, so again, transfer rune immediately, no boost needed because we want to have as many BP available before we do this. And, let's see, we could go for a spell, but instead, I'd rather just analyze, really. See how much this guy has. He has 188,000 left. And we're going to use the Hunter skill, Leg Hold Trap, again, making sure that momentum is always in our favor. And just like that, we were actually right at the beginning of the turn, which is great. So we're going to get the max amount of turns here. Okay, so Tressa's going to be going up next. As always, we're going to go for that transfer rune. And go for the sidestep. This guy primarily fights, as far as I'm aware, he does not have any magical attacks, so he'll never be able to hit us this way. And you know what? We have the Scholar skill, so how about we expose his ice weakness just for this? So a nice 16,000. And then Hanitz, I will probably just... I'm trying to think what else I can do. We might as well just take this time to expose the weak points just for you guys. So how about we go for... yeah, go for Spear. Okay. So next up is going to be, well, we can't unfortunately increase the duration of these, but he is weak to wind, and like I showed you guys earlier, the equipment that I've given to both Hanitz and Therian will increase the damage. So what I'm going to do right now is just go for a single hit. Why not? Yeah, so for a nice cat damage as it is, and remember, this guy does have the Trade Wind Spear, which could be pretty helpful, but yeah, but might as well just go for a Steel HP instead, because that's much more important to us. So some nice damage there. And Windy Pursuit, which will hit for 5 digits of damage. And you know what, we have the arrows, so yeah, might as well get ourselves some of this too. So again, follow that up with some damage for a nice 5 digits. It does range from being anywhere between 8,000 to 12,000, I've noticed. I believe it's because of the critical hits. Okay, so Tressa unfortunately has no more transfer rune left over, which is absolutely fine by me because we're gonna have no problem taking this guy out. So again, Steel SP is 2 hits, plus the Wind Element, so it's a grand total of 3. And I could potentially do something right now with the Yatagaras. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Go for War Master's Yatagaras skill. Save up the SP while we still can. I could have Ophelia actually do something, like, it'd be really... I'd actually much rather wait, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to defend, and then I'll have Tressa apply 1 transfer rune to herself so that we can refresh some of our abilities. Okay, so instead what I'm going to do now is I'll just do 1 attack, which is a guaranteed break, and then Hanit is going to go all out with the Yatagaras. Yeah, so that's for 19,000 damage. Very, very good stuff. I could easily just use Winhild's, actually. Winhild hits multiple times, and it'll still follow up, so that's something that I may want to consider in the near future. Again, go for as much damage as you can, because this is the break. This is our chance to do it. Okay, so we have ourselves the Transfer Rune, and I will take this chance just to refresh the Wind. Refresh the Wind's rune, and then in the very next turn, I am going to go for broke and go for fully charged sidesteps. The funny thing about Tressa is that she doesn't really need to do damage right now, does she? She just has to go ahead and then make the most of her abilities with, just by being her, by virtue of being a base merchant class. Okay, and yeah, we can go for full damage here. Let's go for a different attack. Let's be, okay, do you know what? Let's go for Aerostorm this time, because it looks nice. Yeah, it's a lot of lines, too. A lot of lines of 2,000. Okay, next up is going to be Therian. Unfortunately, Therian has no BP to work with, which is absolutely fine by me. We can go Steel SP. And this actually could end up being a kill if it hits high enough. Not quite there. So I guess it all just falls down to Ophelia. I think Ophelia is going to be one to finish this off, so here we go. Plenty of damage from the staff, and then follow it up. No, not quite. Alright, so we're definitely going to KO this guy the next turn, so please enjoy all the sidesteps that we're getting. Here comes the sweep, which will never hit anyone. Not ever. And here we actually have a scenario where we do not have enough... we don't have any of the weaknesses exposed, so we have no choice but to just hope that the damage that this does is going to be enough. Let's see... Yeah, sure, we'll go for 1,000 Spears this time. 1,000 Spears, and again, the follow-up's not going to do anything, but we're getting there, though. Yes! He was in the red zone, so it was only just a matter of time. But yeah, that's the really fun thing about playing with runes. Like I said, what you could try doing is just stacking multiple bonuses, but unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, for every element, there's a maximum of about 2 weapons that have the elemental bonuses, so I've never seen like a 3rd fire bonus or a 3rd wind bonus, but they do exist out there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link in the description a Google Doc that has served very, very well for all the different locations, so if you guys want more experimentation, that's exactly what you guys can do with this. There are plenty of side quests that are available that let you do this. Of course, I did specify the ones where I got these weapons, but yeah, feel free to experiment with all the different elements. It's a pretty fun way to train too, since you can use spells like Level Slash or Tiger Rage to give yourself more elemental attacks. But yeah, that pretty much does for Tressa the Runelord, you guys. Very, very fun, plenty of utility, and honestly, it's just really, really fun to be able to apply sidestep to an entire party. Just a lot of crazy combinations that we can do, and honestly, Runelord Tressa is just really, really fun in every sense of the word. Anyways, guys, thanks very, very much for watching today's character overview for Octopath Traveler, and I will see you guys in the next video, wherever that is. Take care, everyone.